we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Tara to discuss the state testing.
Okay, today we have Tara Usler with us from the state. Tara graduated from Purdue University with a degree in education sometime in the ancient past. In June of 2011, she joined the Utah Division of Purchasing and General Services, also known as state purchasing. While her current job title of contract analyst suggests one workload, the reality of her job is very different. Her varied job assignments would suggest titles such as office administrator, training specialist, LPD coordinator, lead editor, software specialist, and research analyst. Her favorite work assignments involve creating and presenting training, and luckily her workload is slowly shifting to allow more time for the development of training. One of her recent assignments involved attaining enough understanding of the SABA learning management system to upload the public procurement professional certification exams. Her subject today is on those exams and how to take them and survive.
So when Nancy asked me for a bio, my first answer was no. Maybe this will work. So that's why I was like, yes, I'm not going to have my bio. Okay, so I am here to talk to you today. Did you find it? So when Jason was talking about being volunteered, yeah, I got voluntold. So not for this, but for whatever it is Jason needs us to do. So be prepared, your bosses will sneak behind your back and voluntold you. Jason? So I'm here to talk to you today about the exam that was written by Kent Beers called the Public Procurement Professional Certification, or the Public Procurement Professional Certification for Independent Entities. What is the difference between the two? One is written with the understanding that you're flowing through state purchasing, so it talks about the chief procurement officer and all that. The other, through independent industries, tells you that, second slide please, tells you that you are independent. So it's going to use the words head of a procurement unit with independent procurement authority. Okay? So why do we want to take this test? Don't we have a test already called the Certified Public, I am not going to be able to read today, Certified Professional Public Buyer, the CPPB. We want to take that. We get to put those little neat initials after our name. Why do we want to take another test? And the answer is to test our knowledge of the Utah Procurement Code. The CPPB tests your knowledge of procurement, yes, but this one's going to test your knowledge of the code that you have to use as you are doing your solicitations. So just like we have doctors and lawyers and professors and stockbrokers, and we want to have them have some knowledge, right? Do you want to go to a lawyer that doesn't know what he's doing and try and make a will? No, I don't. So just like we want them to understand their job and they learn and they get certified, we are suggesting that we need to understand our job with the CPPB and with the, what I call the PPPCI for you guys, or if you're executive, PPPC. Okay? Mainly because I'm not going to keep saying those P's in a row. It's like a tongue twister. So, this is an open book test. You're like, why an open book test? Well, let me say, if you go to a doctor and you can't figure out what's wrong with you and he can't figure out what's wrong with you or she can't figure out what's wrong with you, do you want her just to say, I'm done? No, we want her to go and do some research. Go research, go ask other doctors, go look in the books, go look on the internet, try and find a source. When you do your solicitation, we don't want you just to go, boom, off the top of your head, I think this is right. We want you to know where it is in the code, we want you to reference the code. How many of you have to use the code in your job? How many of you are exempt from the code? Does Murray City accept the code? Look, Murray City accepts the code. Yeah. Cities and towns can choose to accept the code. The rest of us, school districts, higher ed, state people, we all have to use the code. We want to be able to find it. Okay, so some facts. It is open book. Let me show you my book. Okay, you're going to see that it has some colors. The white is my code. The purple is my rule. The test does not include rule. It only includes the code. Why? Does a school district use my rules? Maybe not. Maybe yes. It depends on if you've adopted it. So I can't write a test for all of you because I don't know what you've adopted, what you have accepted by default, what you have not accepted, what you've written wrong. So the code is all it's written about. Before this test, you get 5 attempts. I think you're out of battery. So you get 5 attempts. What's that mean? That 113 questions you get to try for 5 different times. Isn't that exciting? So get it right the first time. Okay? Types of questions. You have true, false, multiple choice, and all that apply. What does all that apply means? It means there may be 2, there may be 3, there may be 4 correct answers. They may all be correct. It's your job to figure it out. Okay, the current attempts that have happened for this test is for the PPPC. 23 people have taken it on, and before we got online, we had 19 test takers that were trying to help us form that test. Tell us where we've gone wrong, or where the writer had gone wrong. The 19, I will tell you, all passed. I don't know which of the online's passed or not. I didn't go searching that deeply. The PPCI, I don't know why it keeps clicking out. See? Ha! It doesn't like me. Okay, the PPCI. 16 people have taken it online. I know a couple of those people have failed just because they reached out to me and say, what do I do next? And then I tell them, go review your code and go take it again. Okay, where is it? It's online. You can take it online in your office. Of course, that's going to be a lot of interruptions. Or you can take it in the comfiness of your own home if you want to take it online there. Isn't that what comfy? Oops, she didn't change with me. Keep going.
I was doing microphones.
You're fine. So there's your office. You can take it there. Or in the comfiness of your own home. Can you see yourself taking a 2-hour test? And you say, why is it 2 hours? I say it's 113 questions. If you give yourself 1 minute per question and shave off a couple of minutes off those, it's 120 minutes for 113 questions. But if you know it, you can answer it like this. But I will tell you, when you hit all that apply, you're going to be going like this. Where is the answer? Okay. So where do I find this test? On our website, we have a link to the test. We have the instructions on how to take this test. The link, if you want to start with purchasing.utah.gov, which is really easy to find, you use the icon for the agencies, and then you click Agency Training until you find this little box, Advanced Purchasing on the website. If you are not an executive branch agency, you're going to click the bottom on PPPC for Independent Purchase Public Entities. Okay, go ahead. Can you click on that icon? Let's see if it works. Cross our fingers. Nope. On the icon itself. Will it let you? See, this worked on my version.
So you're gonna pick 4 agencies. You're gonna pick agency training. You're gonna go over here to the advanced.
So these are instructions on how to do it. And my boss will tell you I'm long-winded, but I really hate the same question over and over. So my philosophy on life is I give it to you all. You choose to read it or you choose to ignore it. That's your peril. You'll see it says hints here. So I've given you a couple of hints to help you out. And I tell you here that when you see that box that says welcome, and it says 112 now, I believe it says 113, and I'm adding one question that will help clarification on some questions that people have been missing. It's a definition, just so you know. Underneath that welcome box is going to be some more helpful hints that you need to follow. And because you're here today, I'm going to help give you some of those helpful hints right here. But not here. Today, we're going to teach a little bit about signing up because I had someone sign up recently, and he just happened to hit on the right keyword to throw him off into another agency, into a totally different test. We don't want you to do that because it was painful. Consider about an hour of my time broken up over the day trying to help him get it. Now, if you have ever, how many of you have taken the defensive driving course for the state? Have you taken it in the last 2 years? If you've taken it in the last 2 years, you've already signed into the system at least once. That means you are a returning user. Please use the information about the returning user. If you've never taken the defensive driving course or it's been over 3 years, you're probably going to be a first-time user. You're going to use the link available. You're going to roll the bottom. At the bottom, it's going to say sign up. Don't fill in and try and do a password that you think might work. Sign up. Once you sign up, it's going to get near the bottom. It's going to say, could you put in a keyword? Those keywords are specific to our test and to your entity. If you are a higher ed, you are going to use the keyword exam, HE for higher ed. And that's just going to label you so we know which groups are taking it, which ones aren't. And if somebody from higher ed calls me and says, who's taken my test, I'm going to be able to get you in one spot. And here's where my person went wrong. They picked a keyword, thought it was out of their head, they weren't reading the instructions, and they happened on a keyword that one of the other entities had used, and that's where it popped in somewhere else. I said, the odds of that are astronomical. That's amazing. Okay, go back to the Sorry, I don't like turning around. Okay, so what I have here are circles and squares. They're really easy. They are kind of small on the test, but they are key to you to say, a circle means I choose one. I choose one as a true or false, or I choose one as a multiple choice. If there are squares, I'm going to choose more than one, because I guarantee that if all apply and it's a square, there's always at least two. So you're going to choose that. That's a key that's listed in the instructions as you start the test. I don't know that y'all read it. I know my staff that took it as online to try it out for me didn't read it, so I'm assuming some of you might have that same inclination. Okay, so food for thought. As you take the test, at the top left corner it says part 1. That's a hint. Look at part 1 of the code for your answer. Part 4. Look at part 4. Can anybody tell me what 4 is about? No? Okay. We won't ask that question again. You can choose to mark a question for review later. Maybe you're getting stuck on this, you're done, your brain's fried, let's try some other questions. You can mark it. 2, 3, you can review questions later by clicking question list. And you go, I know I read something about this in one of these other questions. Let me see if I can find it and it'll help me answer this question. Have you ever had a test that the teacher does that? That happens a lot in this test, especially I'll give you a hint in part 4. Seems like there are 5 questions that are all the same. Finally, and we have 2 3s, the last question After the last question, the system's gonna say, hey, do you realize you have some that are not answered? Be careful, because you pick the wrong answer, it'll grade you, you're done, you're probably going to fail, because you probably left 10 on the table. Don't do that, you can miss 11. Because it's open book, it's a 90%. Okay? So make sure you review any unanswered questions. Now, I was asked as a final thing, could I please share with you a couple of questions? I have 4 questions for you today. I'm not going to embarrass anybody by asking you to shout out the answer, but I want you to see if you can answer this question. So the first question, I'm going to give you silence. 15 seconds.
Yes.
Next question. Okay, answer. I'll pick the next one, Nancy. Hopefully you said false. Did you watch the word cannot? I will tell you that in a school district, you are probably both the issuing and the conducting. Now let's make that question a little bit harder. Next question. Hopefully this question has you scrambling for your books. Because I wrote the question and I have to stop and think which ones are right. Okay? Nancy, next. Did you realize it doesn't all that apply? Okay. The bottom is a little tricky because the conducting procurement unit also has something about negotiating, but it refers again to the issuing. It says they may negotiate but have to go to the issuing for the final approval. So be careful. Next. Notice I jumped part 5. I hope this one's easy. Go ahead. Budget, finances can't be talked in an archive. Hopefully you know that. Next. And the reason I put this question is, the state purchasing gets this question, especially from school districts and charter schools all the time, because they just don't know. Hey, there's this great cooperative group out there. I want to use them. Can I use them? And I point to the part of the code that says, must be conducted in accordance with the requirements of the code. Did they do that? If they didn't do that, we can't use that cooperative group, which is why NIGP works, or not NIGP, NASPO works, because we follow all those rules when we do a NASPO contract. So, final slide. When you're done, you get this generic, really awful looking certificate. It will tell you if you want a pretty certificate to hang up, send it to Tara. It gives you my email address. Somebody at PEP seminar last week said to me, hey, I didn't realize that email is going to disappear, so I'm giving it to you again and telling you who I am, because once it disappears, you may forget who you're supposed to ask. If you forget me, call state purchasing and say, who's that woman who asked to give me the certificate? And you send it to me and I'll build you a pretty one. The system and I were not agreeing, and they wanted this up and running, and we could not figure out how to get a certificate up and running, so we did it. So now we have a pretty one. So if you want this, I challenge you guys to take the exam. Take it so that you know the code. Take it so that you can learn. When I say what is part 6 about, I hope you know it's about bidding. When I say part 7, I hope you know it's about RFPs. When I say part 8, I hope you know it is about non-standard procurements. That's something that you as professionals should know, And that's part of what this test is supposed to help you realize that you need to learn. And that's all I have today. Any questions? Terry?
Is there a time limit on the test?
There's no time limit. It will actually not time out. If you need to get up and go to the bathroom, we let it go for 30 minutes, and it won't time you out. Your screen may lock down, but when you open your screen up, it'll work again. I'm sure you can go longer than that, but we haven't had that opportunity to choose to test that period. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Today we have Ryan Andrew Stream, who is a highly esteemed motivational speaker, musician, American soldier, and instructor with a heart that pumps passion and positive change. His message is simple: you are the author of your story. Only you have the ability within yourself to take control of your circumstances and change your life. As a motivational speaker, Ryan has traveled to various areas in and out of the state of Utah, speaking and playing the music he has composed. Ryan has performed at dozens of school districts and universities, youth and adult correctional facilities, including both Utah state prisons. He has been booked for state conferences and banquets, along with church firesides and youth conferences. Ryan has also had the privilege to open for Alex Boyer, Van Lady Love, and Sean Wallen. He was also featured in the magazines, local news stations, newspapers, and on radio talk shows. He was able to sign a music contract with BMI out of LA, California. His music can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon. His topics include various challenges of life, before and after being adopted, sleeping in homeless shelters with his 3 brothers, and living in and out of foster homes. He struggled with alcohol abuse and drug addiction, stemming from poor choices being made during his youth, having to pay outstanding court fines and serving time in jail multiple times. Joining the military was the best decision of his life. He is currently a sergeant with the 624th Engineering Company and has deployed to Afghanistan with them, as well as the 118th Sapper Company. Their mission was to find bombs placed in the road and to clean the route before any convoys could pass. 23 out of 32 of the soldiers he was with were blown up by an IED. Ryan was diagnosed with PTSD, 2 mild traumatic brain injuries, and hearing loss. Ryan uses his experience from the military, which helped teach him discipline, mental and physical strength, teamwork, pride, and appreciation of our country, the rigors and joy of serving someone other than himself. So please give a warm welcome to Ryan.
I remember when we used to watch Peter Parker, Peter Pan, and Captain Hook. We used to flip through magazines looking at heroes and crooks. We took a look at our fair share of comic books. Let me rewind to the times when the parks were full and we were swinging and dreaming, not understanding the meaning of growing up. Or doing it back to the most, cause obeying our parents, we thought that was a joke. We super soaked on the warm sunny days. We hoped that the clouds would just go away. There is a kid in every one of us that would like to play. So grab your cape and microphone and come and see what I say. And I grow up, I wanna be a knight in shining armor or a king. I want a nice car or a house with me. But I We can do it. I will prove it. The kid inside of me lives again. I was a kid with a badge and a cape. I couldn't seem to escape the AIDS that came with the cake. I celebrate every year, made a wish. A superstar, Prince Charm. That's what I wish to be. The Peter Pan from Neverland or Captain Hook out at sea. Night games, lights out, keep a lookout for me. But now I'm getting older, can't forget about my past. The times I got in trouble for wearing my cape to class. Recess was my favorite subject. Listening, I couldn't do. Fell down, stood up, no matter what I'm pushing through. Daydreaming of all the hero things that I can do. When I grow up, I wanna be a knight in shining armor or a king. I want a nice car or a house for me. When I grow up, I'm going to live my dream. We can do it. I will prove it. The kid inside of me lives again. I am the captain of my soul. I am the leader of my ship. I am a knight in shining armor, Cinderella by my hip. Every time I went down the slide, every time I skipped through the rope, I was training to give people hope. No, don't wanna grow up, but it happened way too fast. I pressed the gas, past 60, watch me doing laps. Now I'm getting older, I'm reminded of my past. My kid got in trouble for using powers during class. Recess is her favorite subject. Listening, they didn't do. Fell down, stood up, no matter what they're pushing through. Daydreaming of all the heroic things that they can do. When I grow up, I wanna be a knight in shining armor or a king. I want a nice car or a house for me. When I grow up, I'm going to live my dream. We can do it. I will prove it. The kid inside of me lives again. I'll never grow up. I'm excited to be here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've been given to come here today to share my experiences with you. Is everybody excited to be here? Yes. Oh, people at the rest home are a lot excited, more excited than that. Are you guys excited to be here? Yes! We're going to have a lot of fun. You might laugh, you might cry, but we're going to be here and we're going to have a good time. But first of all, I would like to ask for every one of your participation. And if you do not participate, I'm going to call you out. Can everyone please stand up out of their seat? Now everybody turn to your right direction. Well, that's straight. Right direction. Take one step forward. You may sit down. Sit down. No, not on the floor, on your seat, sorry. Take the seat back in your seat. Now they say the best motivational speakers and the best musicians are able to lift a crowd out of their seat and make them take a step in the right direction. So I'm honored and privileged I was able to do that for you in the first couple of minutes. That video that you just saw, I was able to fly to Michigan and do a music video with NASCAR. And I wasn't sure if that was appropriate for this, so I asked Nancy yesterday, is it okay if I share this? And I go to high schools, elementary schools, you're going to hear a little bit about what I do. But I like to do different music. I play the piano, I do country music, you're going to hear all the music today. So I just wanted to share that with you because we are all a hero when we were a little kid. We all have that crown, and we all have that cape, and it doesn't have to end just because we're older. We're a hero to our kids, we can be a hero to those around us. You know, people used to laugh in my face when I told them that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. When I told people my dreams, they laughed at me like I was telling them a joke. Like I couldn't accomplish my dreams because maybe they didn't accomplish theirs. But now that I have opportunities to travel all over the country, sharing my experiences and making videos, do you know what those people are saying? Do you know what those people are doing now? Any guesses? They're still laughing. You will always have people laughing. You will always have people tell you that you cannot do something. It doesn't matter what you are doing or what you're trying to accomplish. For some reason, people rather tear you down than help pull you forward. But I'm here to remind every one of you that we are powerful, and we can make a difference, and we can make a change, and we need to be examples to everyone around us and lift up people and help them accomplish their dreams and push them in the right direction. Sometimes I get discouraged.
Sometimes I listen to what other people have to say. And I have a saying that I like to say, and I would like every one of you to repeat it after me. When you feel like getting discouraged, please say, I can.
I can.
Look up.
Look up.
For inspiration.
For inspiration.
I can.
I can.
Look down.
Look down.
In desperation.
In desperation.
But I will not.
But I will not.
But she will not.
But she will not.
But he will not.
But he will not.
Fail.
Fail.
I will not fail.
I will not fail.
This morning you will hear some of my most memorable and some of my most precious life experiences. I hope that my experiences will help each and every one of you understand the importance of always believing in yourself, never giving up, and always moving forward. But first, I would like to introduce myself to you, just like Nancy read off that paper. My name is Ryan Stream. I'm 29 years old. For the past 2 years, I've been traveling around the state of Utah and surrounding states and now the country, being a motivational speaker and a musician. This is my 46th show in about a year and a half when I started. I've been able to open up for Alex Boyer, Sean Whalen, Band Lady Love, speak at multiple school districts, LDS Firesides, foster care, and a lot of other events. And I'm here because I want to make a change and I want to make a difference. And you're going to hear a little bit about my life and the life that I had before I was adopted. If you'll excuse me, I have to come back and forth and keep pushing next. So here's some of the things that I was able to do. I've been able to go to different universities, open up for the governor, open up for Alex Boyer like we talked about. Yeah, if you do that for me, that's awesome. I didn't always want to be a motivational speaker and musician. When I was young, I wanted to grow up and I wanted to be a professional athlete. I wanted to be in the NBA. Does anyone else here share that dream or shared that dream when they were young? Nobody. Nobody wanted to be a professional athlete. There you go. Thank you. Remember, we got to participate. I wanted to be in the NBA. And I practiced every single day. My parents made it a chore for my brothers and I to go outside and shoot 200 shots. Even after work. Even after our homework. So it would be late at night and I would have my porch light on and I would be out there dribbling the basketball. I dribbled the basketball right-handed. I dribbled it left-handed. I dribbled it around the block so many times that I paved a path inside of that pavement. And I challenged every single person that walked by my house to a game of basketball. And I was able to play for the Jazz. No Jazz fans, huh? The Junior Jazz. I was able to play for the Junior Jazz. That is where my career pretty much ended. And that is where my growth spurt stopped. Now your life will not always go the way as you plan, and that's okay. If it would have went that way, it would have probably been awesome. But I love the way that my life's going now. I have been happily married for 6 years. I better get that right. My wife is here. Where are you at? Will you stand up? Everybody look. Is everybody looking? All right, that's enough. Thank you. My wife, Elizabeth, is a co-captain of our stream team. She is 5'2", 100% pure Latina beauty. Just so you all know, I am taller than she is. Not by much, but taller is taller. I met my wife in 2009 at the state wrestling. After the wrestling matches. The first time I saw her was on a flight of stairs. I was walking down the stairs, and she was walking up the stairs. I looked at her. She looked at me. We looked at each other. I'm sure she could see my heart race inside of my shirt. She was the prettiest thing I have ever seen. And I can assure you I was able to see her white, perfect, beautiful smile from the other side of the city. We have 2 dazzling daughters. Next slide, please. My oldest girl, her name is Nixon. Nixon Drew. She is loud in school. She jumps, skips, karate kicks her way out of trouble. She's most famous for staying up late and missing her bedtime. And she's an amazing big sister. Our youngest daughter, next slide please, is Olympia. Olympia is 1 year old. And last night I was just reminded about how much I can't wait until she grows up because we were awake all night long. I'm sick, so I'm not going to be singing my songs today, but I'm going to be playing the piano. But this song, this music video that we're going to watch now, I just dropped this video last night, has 20,000 views and growing. It's for September 11th. During our lives as parents, as we know, we get busy. Every one of you here is a leader. You have a very important job in the state of Utah. And sometimes we don't give our children or our spouses the time that they deserve. Every time I get home, my daughter says, "Dad, please play with me." I worked full-time 13 and a half hours, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night in the coal mines, deep in the earth. During the week, I am a student at Utah Valley University. I travel around and I speak, and I am still in the military. So I'm very, very busy, and I am a father of two, and I have a lovely wife. Dad, please play with me. And I always have to say no. But one time I said, you want to know what? I will. And I decided to write this song, Daddy, 1 year ago. And this video has taken this long to do. So this music video, September 11th, Remembering the Soldiers, is called Daddy.
I hate when you cry, when I'm brushing your hair, or when you're in the dark, feeling a little bit scared. But doing this like you might feel like you're all alone. Here's a promise, one day you will understand. Your mom and I, we're doing the best we can. Daddy, will you please play with me? I'll count to 10 and we'll play hide and seek. Honey, you've been hiding in the same place you've been hiding all week.
Daddy, are you going to war to fight the bad guys?
Yep, I am. I need you to be good for your baby sister who's coming soon, okay?
Okay.
I love you so much, and I need you to be brave. Always be a good helper for Mom.
I love you, Daddy. Be safe.
I'll always write you. I love you. I love it when we sing, ring around the rosy. Or when you blow those three little pigs house down. Or when you yell at the top of your lungs, Dad, be a king and I'll wear that crown. Daddy, will you please marry me? I'll count to 10 and you say I do. Honey, you've been wearing that same white dress you've been wearing for a week. Babe, I miss you so much. I can't believe it's been 10 months. I'm so sorry I missed you out of work. I'll see you soon, I promise. I'll be safe. I'm out here being all I can be. I watched your mom give birth to you over the Skype screen. I'm fighting for a nation that burns their American flag. I know it's frustration, let's use our persuasion and teach these people how to appreciate our land. And honey, one day I am sure you will understand. This soldier is doing the best he can. Tell me when are you just enjoy. I know you have to fight. Always remember to choose alright. That's something you used to say to me.
Daddy promised me you will come home.
Thank you. That video was pretty awesome to make. My little girl, she started to cry because she thought I was leaving. And it's tough when you're in the military, like I know one of you was that I spoke to earlier today. When you have to leave your family, that is the toughest time. The next part is called On My Own. When I was 12 years old, I got adopted. We're going to talk about living in a homeless shelter and all that stuff. But I got adopted when I was very young. And piano, music was my therapy. And my parents that adopted us, they put us all on piano lessons. But I was, you can tell, I'm really high, ADHD, all that stuff. I just wanted to write my own music. So I don't know how to read notes on the piano. But I'm one of those that if you work hard at something, you can accomplish anything. I had a country singer named Heidi McAfee that approached me and said, if you write 12 songs, I will make you a CD. But then later on in my life, I got into drugs and I started to make bad choices. But at the age of 12, this song that I wrote is called On My Own, because during our lives, we're going to feel like we're alone at certain points. So I decided to put my feelings in a song. We're going to get unclassy for a minute. You know, I always wanted to motivate people. I always wanted to be that guy that walked into the room and everybody else just looked at him. And when they shook your hand, they just felt the power. Have you ever shook someone's hand and you're just like, wow, that guy's impressive, right? I wanted to be the guy that walked in school and all the girls were like, ooh, look at that guy, right? I wanted everybody to like me. Truth is, I just wanted to be accepted. The number one thing that people want out of this life is, oh, you're right, to be accepted. Of course, some of us want to be taller. Some of us want to be more muscly or skinnier, have nicer cars, bigger house, a better income. We all want things. But truth is, we make choices in the decisions. We make choices just because of those that we surround ourselves with. Or as we get older, we buy things that we truly can't afford. We get into debt just to get the awe and the ooh from other people around us. I could say I'm not perfect and I've done all the things that on the list, I'm sure. But I want to prove to you that we are not perfect. Everyone raise your hand. If you are perfect, put your hand down. Ooh. Look around the room. Not one person here is perfect besides that lady over there. Just kidding. Put your hand down. I just wanted you to know that before I told you the story of my life and my parents, because my parents were not perfect. My brothers and I, when we were young, we slept some nights in a homeless shelter. And we stayed in different foster care homes. One by one, we were separated from one another, feeling lost, alone, scared. Anything you could possibly feel as a little kid, I can assure you. And my brothers and I, we felt that. My mother, she was a very beautiful Italian woman with dark hair, green hazel eyes, and she had a personality that made everybody around her just want to be around her. By the age of 11, both of my mother's parents died, and she was by herself. And all of her siblings, they were already grown up, addicted to drugs, except for one. And my mother went to live with that sister. But by the age of 15, my mother, she was raped twice. And she ran away from what she called home. She spun out of control, and she found acceptance in that wrong crowd. And my dad was in that wrong crowd. I was born in East LA. That's where my dad lived, and he lived the East LA lifestyle. My mother and father both addicted to drugs, jail, prison, the loss of their freedom, and in the end, the loss of their own children. My mother was in such an abusive relationship that the state of California came. We were living in a little shed in California. Came and said, we're going to take your kids away if you don't leave this man. So my mother, like most mothers, I would hope, gave up everything for their children. And she left the state of California and we moved to Colorado. I remember our time in Colorado. We had a one-bedroom, little tiny house right on Palmer Street in Delta, Colorado. My mother, she wasn't able to get on her feet. I remember a little boy and my mother coming home screaming out in the middle of the road late at night one night. She had a black eye and a bloody nose. And some man just dropped her off in the middle of nowhere and she had to walk home all by herself. She was still addicted to drugs and got in a lot of trouble with the law. And I remember escaping from the babysitter's house and I ran down to the jail that was a little ways away from our house and I yelled, "Mom! Mom!" Because back in the day, the jails had plexiglass windows with little holes. My mother, she came to the window and she told me that she loved me. And then she started to cry. Now that I am older and I have a 6-year-old, the same age I was at that time, I can imagine exactly what my mother was thinking. My friends, the choices and the decisions that we make, they don't only affect us. They affect everybody around us. And the older I get, guess what? We still make choices. Whether they're good choices or whether they're bad choices. My mother just recently gave birth to our youngest brother, Joey, when she got out. And our dad came from California to pick us up, to take us, because my mom was losing him. My dad, he had nothing. We rode in a stranger or a friend's vehicle in the back of an orange truck all the way to Provo, Utah. And we had nowhere to live. We slept under the old Center Street Bridge. I remember getting a car and parking it on the Provo Park sidewalk, right against the curb. Right against the curb. And I was scared. I was the most handsome and the bravest of my brothers. But that didn't make it so I wasn't scared. I said, "Dad, please, I don't want to sleep here. There's homeless people that were already sleeping at that park." It began to snow. So we stayed in a little shack, like you park your lawnmowers, in a garage-like shelter behind a family member's home. And blankets and space heaters warmed the cold concrete for us that winter. Our dad got arrested, and when he got out, I know the snow was melting, so it was starting to become spring. When our dad got out, we had to leave Utah County. So we moved to Carbon County, where there was a homeless shelter that burned down years ago. Next slide. This just kind of paints a picture of how we lived. It's not us, but it's a picture of how it reminded me. I remember sleeping at this homeless shelter, and so did my brothers. You know what we did? We would steal pies from the kitchen because we were so hungry. Now, at a homeless shelter, they feed you. But I tell you, we all have kids here, or kids that are related to us. We like to eat, and we like to burn calories. So we would go and we would ask strangers if they had any food or candy at the store, around town. My dad was blessed with a small job, and we moved to a small town called Huntington, Utah, in Embry County, Utah. One evening, there was a man that came over by the name of Steve Stream. Steve Stream came over with the missionaries. He was always around and helping. And he noticed that we looked rough. We couldn't read, we couldn't write. And he saw that we were washing our clothes in the bathroom. So a couple days later, Steve Stream came back with a brand new washer and a brand new dryer. And come Christmas time, we were that family that got that black garbage bag full of toys. So, if any of you do that, it means a lot. Excuse me. One night we returned home to the homeless shelter to eat. My dad, he was on substances and he was drunk. And he started punching the windshield until the windshield started to break. And he started to scream and yell, demons are inside of the car. Devils are inside of the car. Us three boys, we were scared in the back seat of the car. And bright lights soon began to chase our vehicle. And the police officer pulled us over and drug my dad out of the vehicle. And my brothers and I, we were so sick and tired of watching our dad get arrested. We jumped out of the vehicle and we tried to persuade the police officer to let our dad go. We knew karate, but obviously we did not know enough, because that police officer gently put us three ninjas back inside of the vehicle. And we watched that patrol car disappear into the dark Carbon County night. That would be the last time we would be with our dad. The police officer tried to comfort us. He tried to tell us that everything was going to be okay. We knew that it wasn't going to be okay. Our little brother's gone. Our mom's gone. Our dad's gone. But he said that there's a family, a foster home in Wellington, Utah. And I'm going to take you there, and you will be safe, and you will be okay, and you will be together. It wasn't long after going to that foster home, a police officer pulled up that gravel driveway. And I remember the police officer pulling up to that house. The police officer came to the door and said, "We're going to take away your brother Jesse. He's going to live with another family." I remember that night, my brother Michael and I crying on the floor in a blanket because we had no mom, no brothers, and no dad. We were old enough to know that our family was being torn apart, but we didn't understand why. April 6th passed. It was my brother Michael's birthday, and we celebrated the birthday, just him and I. The lady that owned the home a couple weeks later told us that there is a police officer that is coming to the house. And I remember having so much anxiety this time watching that patrol car pull up that dirt gravel driveway. I knew it was going to happen. I was going to be taken away. Or my brother was going to be taken away. It didn't matter. I was going to be alone. When the police officer knocked at the door, and then the lady that owned the home opened up that door, we looked right past the police officer and we noticed a handsome boy smiling in the backseat of a cop car. Any guesses who that was? My brother. My brother Jesse. We ran to that patrol car as fast as we can. We opened up the door and we hugged each other. And we loved on each other because we were reunited. We were together. And that police officer said, "There is a family that wants to take you three in and keep you together." A family that already had 7 kids. The Stream family. When we were living at the Rockbridge Apartments in Huntington, when we just moved from the homeless shelter, that man, Steve Stream, that came over, he said, "My wife is a daycare and a preschool teacher, and she owned the daycare and the preschool in that town. Why don't you bring your kids over to my house, and I will have my wife. She will teach them how to read and how to write." And now, fast forward a couple months later, that is the family that's willing to take us in and keep us together. In 1996, my brothers and I, we were adopted. And every year we would go to Colorado to visit my mother and our youngest brother, Joey. The second half of the year, my mother, she would come and visit us. When we went to Colorado, my mother told our parents, Caroline and Steve, that she had gotten in trouble and that she was going to be taken away for some time. So she asked Steve and Caroline, "Can you please take my son with you and keep him with his brothers?" On that day, my little brother Joey got in the car and drove back to Emery County, Utah with us. When the time got up, the deal was that Joey had to go back with my mother. But my mother was still addicted to drugs. She was trying to find love all over the United States. Whenever I talk at school districts, I like to stop right there and say, "Girls, you make sure to find a man that is willing to climb your wall, and you build that wall extremely high. Men, we are persuasive." So I give them a tip. Look for the short men. They're the best. Right? You have the most personality. You got the best smile. No. So Joey was adopted. My mother said, "If you promise to keep my children together, I will give you my son." Could you imagine the choices and decisions that you make having those big of consequences? Next slide. My friends, this is the family that adopted us. This is the Stream family. This is my perfect storm. During your life, you are going to have challenges, obstacles, hills, and hurdles that you will have to overcome. And if nothing is going wrong in your life right now, you better brace yourself. because there's a storm that's going to happen. But an amazing thing about storms is when those clouds part and that sun shines, what happens? Flowers grow. People unite. People help build. I would like to give something away. Who would like a $20 bill? Oh, tough crowd, huh? You in the back, you raise your hand. I was going to say a $100 bill. Come on up here, please. She wants a $100. Oh, there's two of you. I only have 20. No, never mind. I need the 20. No, come on up. I would have gave away a $100 bill if it would have been fake. You would have got up here and you would realize it's a $20 bill. So as she is coming up, I have a $20 bill right here. What is your name? Polly. Why do you want this $20 bill? Oh, that's sure nice. Yeah, we should add more to give. You want this $20 bill probably because it has value. It's worth something, am I right? It's worth something. Can we all agree on that? Now, would you like this $20 bill if I crumpled it up?
Of course.
Would you want it if I stepped on it?
Of course.
All right. All right, here we go. What about if I ripped it? What about if I put it in my mouth? Why? Because it still has value. Our lives are worth a lot more than this $20 bill. But during your lives, when those storms hit, you're going to get crumpled up. It's going to feel like people are walking all over you. Your heart might get ripped. Your life might be torn apart, but the only way you will lose your value is if you destroy yourself. Thank you. Give a round of applause. It's hard to get one more time. This song is called, let's take this up. The Perfect Storm. Great. You know, when I was 17 years old, excuse me, During high school, I wanted to join the military. At 17 years old, I decided I wanted to make a change and I wanted to make a difference, just like I did when I was a little boy. So at 17, I enlisted in the military. I went as a 12 Bravo. It was explosives. That was my MOS. I graduated honors from basic training. I came back. I was the fastest person in our battalion. I broke 2 track records when I was growing up. I beat the second place person with 30 pounds on my back by 10 minutes. My goal, my dream after that was to try out for the Special Forces or to become a Ranger or something like that. But of course, I got into drugs and I made bad choices. When I got home, I was in the National Guard, so I wasn't full-time military. So I got a job in the coal mines 11 years ago, making $25 an hour. I was also going to school, receiving my GI Bill, so school was free, plus another $600 on top of that. Plus, I just received a $20,000 sign-on bonus for joining the military. When I was 18 years old, it's safe to say I was making around $80,000, $90,000 a year. And my parents tried to tell me what to do. What's your name? Cara. Tara. What's your mom's name?
Bev.
Bev? Well, Bev doesn't know everything. What about you right here, gentlemen? What is your dad's name? Vernon. Vernon doesn't know everything. But I'll tell you what, they probably knew a lot more than you did, didn't they? Your parents, they were here to help guide you, to lead you, to teach you, your teachers. The same exact thing, and I did not understand that. I thought my parents were trying to take away what I had. I was more successful than them, I thought. I was pretty humble, wasn't I? I was more successful than everybody my age, and you want to know what? I thought I was missing out on fun. So I quit the coal mines. I stopped going to school and I moved up to Orem. To make the story really short, by the age of 19, I was addicted to drugs. I was living in my car or anybody else's couch that would let me live there. I went to jail multiple times and I owed the courts over $25,000. $25,000. And my insurance, wait for it, was $550 a month because I got in so many accidents and I'd done a lot of other things with vehicles. If I would have just listened to my parents, none of those things would have happened. I tried my hardest. I wanted to change. But I had those court fines, and there was a unit going to Afghanistan. I said, please let me go with you. I need to escape my surroundings. By this time, everybody knew. I would show up to drill with paint in my hair. One time, I was saved, and this is when I decided to stop. It was my turn to do a urinalysis test. And I was dirty, and if you are dirty in the military, you get kicked out, you lose everything. You have to pay back your bonus. You pay back everything the military's ever given you. And my Social Security number was mixed up. The biggest blessing of my life, that day changed my whole life. I was taking care of everything I needed to take care of to go to Afghanistan. And I had one more court appointment in Sandy. Before I tell the story, I just got booked by the Sandy court, so it's amazing. I hope I get to meet the judge that let me go. I had an outstanding fine, a couple $1,000s. And I pleaded with the judge. I said, Your Honor, I need to escape my surroundings, please. And he walked off the stand. He walked over to me and he wrapped his arms around me. And he said, good luck. Good luck. Changed my whole life. So in 2010, I was able to deploy with the Sapper Company to Afghanistan. Next slide. Our mission was to find bombs placed in the road and to clear the route before any and all other convoys passed, besides the Special Forces and the infantry. It was a horrible mission. Our first night in country, Bob Salerno was attacked by 32 Taliban members in American uniforms. We didn't even have ammo issued to us yet. We were running around in our flip-flops, putting on our body armor, grabbing knives. A couple hours after, no American soldiers were injured and all of the Taliban members were sent to the afterlife. 2 weeks in country, our platoon daddy, the guy that is in charge of us, was blown up and his brain was bleeding. Our vehicle was ambushed. That's where I got one of my 2 mild traumatic brain injuries and my hearing loss. It was so hard that I went outside all by myself and I sat where nobody could see me and I started to cry. I started to cry because I joined the military because I wanted to make a change and I wanted to make a difference, and the only thing changing was my attitude. I truly wanted to take the life of another person, and that scared me. My sister, she sent me a story. And it is my favorite story, and today it hangs in my little girl's room. There was a man, an old man, that went down to the shoreline every morning to do some riding. He was a poet. One morning he went down to the shoreline and he realized that there was somebody dancing along the shore. And he thought to himself, who would be dancing so early in the morning? As he got closer, he realized that it was a little boy. And he said, little boy, what are you doing? It's early in the morning. Where are your parents? And the little boy said, the tide. It is just right. I'm grabbing starfish and I am throwing them into the water. And the waves will pull the starfish back and they will live. You know what that old man did? He laughed at that little boy. He said, little boy, there are hundreds of miles of shore and hundreds of thousands of starfish along this shoreline. There is no way you can make a difference. That little boy looked at that old man. He leaned over and he grabbed one starfish. And he threw it into the water and said, I made a difference to that one. After hearing this story, I knew I couldn't be the Hercules of Afghanistan. But every person that I came in contact with, I wanted to be just like that little boy. I can't change 1,000 people's lives, but I can change one. I have feet the size of a second grader, and I'm as tall as a third grader. So I was giving them my jackets, my boots, my clothes. My family was sending gifts from home, and I would stand on top of the vehicle, and kids would come out from under the rocks. And I truly enjoyed being with these kids, and they reminded me of what I was when I was young. A kid that had nothing, that would come up and beg people for food. But we were told that we were no longer allowed to get out of the vehicle. The kids in our province were bringing up explosives to the vehicle and killing the soldiers in our province. So they said, String, especially you, because they knew that I loved the kids. I trusted them. I became friends with the guy, and he ended up becoming the enemy. I was that guy. I give people way too much. I trust way too much. So we were told that we were no longer allowed to get out of the vehicle. One afternoon, there was a little boy that came up to our vehicle, and he wanted food, he wanted candy, he wanted everything that we could possibly give him. And I said, nope, I'm not going to give it to you. My sergeant said, String, open up the door and give the kid a piece of candy. So I opened up the door and I threw out one piece of candy. And of course, that little boy raced his sister over there and grabbed that piece of candy before she did. Over in Afghanistan, women, you have no rights. None. You are treated less than a dog. We witnessed a little girl grab a piece of candy one time, and everyone around her beat her so bad, I bet that little girl never thought of candy again. That's what it's like over there. So when people don't stand up for the American flag, or when people disrespect our country, I remind people of where they live and what they are capable of, because we live in, I think, the land of promise. That little boy turned and gave that candy to his little sister. We've never seen anything like that. So we jumped out of the vehicle and we gave that little boy as much food, pop, and candy his little sister and him could carry. And they ran off home. But a couple hours later, that little kid came back. And that little kid had something behind his back. And he wouldn't show us, next slide please. He wouldn't show us what it was. Excuse me, I missed this slide. This picture right here, one of the best pictures of 2010 and 2011. I like to show this picture because I was that boy that I went home and the kids' parents wouldn't let them play with me. But as soon as this picture, I came home and this went up, my mother said, Ryan, that is the boy that you always wanted to be. So here's me hanging out with the kids, love them. But that little kid, he came running back to our vehicle and he had something behind his back. And we said, stop, stop, stop! And he kept running closer. So our gunner put his weapon on that little kid. And I turned on the camera. So we were able to justify taking this little boy's life. We kept yelling at this little kid to stop. And finally he did. And he finally showed us what was behind his back. And it was an egg. An egg? An egg. Over there they have nothing. They literally follow sheep around, and where sheep graze, that's where they live. Sticks with skin, animal skin with roofs. And if they're rich enough, they have mud-clot homes, possibly maybe cement, or maybe a one light in the little village that we were in. But that kid ran all the way home, and my sergeant spoke the Pashtun language. And he said, my family was very grateful for the gifts, and we wanted to give you a gift. That little kid changed my whole paradigm. It doesn't matter where you are at in the world, there is good and there is bad. And there is bad and there is good. And if there is not good where you find yourself at, you better be the good example. You better be that one that stands up for what is right and to make a change and to make a difference. After this deployment, I returned home. I was home for 11 months before I was in Afghanistan for a second deployment. My oldest daughter, Nixon, was born, and I met her when she was 8 months old. And it was very difficult and very challenging when I got home after my second deployment. I struggled with PTSD, 2 traumatic brain injuries, and hearing loss. I keep telling my wife, I just named her, babe. Half the time I don't even listen. No. It was really difficult. And then we had all the police brutality and all this stuff going on, so I woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote a song. And this song is truly what helped my career grow. I had the military be a part of it, the highway patrolman. It's amazing. This song is called Change.
Every time that I turn on the news, I can find nothing new. Just a bunch of sadness and sickness. We the people sit and watch as a witness. I must have been motion sick, or call me suspicious. Bad decisions equal missing Thanksgiving and Christmas. My question is and forever was, do we fight for freedom or do we fight for greed? They tell us to stand up, but who do we stand up to? We are lied to, tricked, and constantly deceived. What victory can possibly be achieved? We fight over which bathrooms people should take a pee. Handouts over handguns, riots and race. We overlook the Constitution of the United States. We the people, yes the people. We would rather be entertained than help the people who are crying. All across the world today people will be dying. I don't care what your name is, or if you're rich or you're famous. I don't want to be known as the generation where wickedness overcame us. I wanna make a change, but I'm just one man. I wanna be a better man. You know I've been homeless, separated, reunited, and adopted. My mom, she took her life when I was young and I couldn't stop it. I was raised by a family with the best of intentions, but I've had multiple addiction problems and I won't forget to mention. I've been to war twice, it was hard but I succeeded. For the rest of my life I'll be on my knees and I'll be pleading. Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, I wanna make a change, but I'm just one man. I wanna be a better man, and I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. That's what I learned from Stevie. Let's help the sick, the homeless, and the needy. You know that I've done wrong for so long. I need that puzzle piece just to stay strong. I'm lost in every moment. I can't even sit still. Not even at the table. I can't even stand up being stable. But with God, we are able to adapt, overcome and change. We're in it to win. The heaven's gate is my finish.
During that song, you heard that my mother committed suicide. And she did when I was in the 9th grade. Not because she was weak, but because she did not get the help that she needed. The moment I really felt like I was making a difference, I was at ALA. And there was a little boy that stood up when I said, I go to counseling, and I still do. I go to counseling, I've been in counseling probably 40 times. I love counseling. Especially when the counselor tells my wife, she's wrong. I'm wrong most of the time, maybe like 30% of the time. A little boy in the crowd stood up in the middle of my speech and said, I go to counseling too. In front of his whole school. The power of one person. Then other people started to stand up and said the same thing. Then people stood up and said, I'm in foster care. I was adopted. My friends, there is no time to fail. When you fail, it's because excuses. You can turn any hardship with a good positive attitude into a learning experience and a learning curve. There is no time to fail. So stop using excuses. Excuses sound best to those who make them up. I want to show you someone who doesn't make excuses. His name is Gabe Adams, and he is in this final video that we're going to watch. It is called Never Give Up. Like I said, your life will be full of obstacles, hills, and hurdles, and only you can overcome them. So you need to be that person that stops the bullies, that helps other people, and push people forward. This song, final song, Never Give Up.
There's a little girl who used to sit in that chair until some students chose to laugh at her and stare. Let me show you how you treat the ladies. I'd like to show you how you treat a man. From the beginning of every conversation, I'll start by shaking a hand. You never know what someone's going through. I can teach you a thing or two. Do you see that boy sitting over there? He has been through so much, more than we could ever endure. Don't you be afraid, my baby girl. Go on up and shake his hand, and I am sure he'll say, well, I know where you're going, and I know where I belong. Just because I can walk and talk doesn't mean I don't belong. Oh, I know where I belong. I salute the people who will never give up. Your proof Christ strength is in every one of us. Sing along now. Oh, oh, do you see that girl losing all her hair? She has been through so much, more than we could ever dare. She's a hero in my eyes, oh, an angel in disguise. And I am sure she'll say, I know where I am going. I know where I belong. That's the people who will never give up. For Christ's strength is in every one of us. Sing along now. Oh, now let your light shine brighter than the light of day. And when people speak bad about you, give them something good to say. We're all on a quest, we have miles to go. And when you cross your finish line, you're gonna see these muscles grow. No matter how hard your life gets, always remember we all have trials. We all have hills and hurdles that we need to overcome. And together, we can do it. Never give up.
You know that was very special. What our goal was to raise $10,000 with that video and to surprise a family that had cancer. We didn't raise $10,000, but we raised enough to surprise a family, a man that had a fire. He was a firefighter. We had the whole fire department there with the sirens on and everything, and when him and his wife walked in, we were all able to give him money and gifts to help him through Christmas. My friends, remember, your life is going to be hard. It's going to be challenges. But when it gets hard, repeat after me. Remember to say, I can. Look up. I can. Look up. In desperation. For inspiration. I can look down. For desperation. But I will not. But she will not. Fail. All right, everyone, please stand up. Clap your hands. Thank you. Nancy, I appreciate you bringing me here. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, everyone. Thank you for your leadership roles in the state of Utah, and I hope that I can come to some of your school districts and share my story and my experiences with your students. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Brian for coming to speak with us today and give him this certificate.
Thank you.
What a great day to have him on 9/11. Now we'll take a break.
Thank you for having me.